And welcome everybody to the 141 episode of the Fact Is podcast. We're your host, Nath Moses.
And I'm Ryan Mays. And Nath, you need a haircut, sir.
I do need a haircut.
Due to you.
And I'm Stu Mowbray.
Welcome everybody. So real quick, we're going to talk about the topics we will be discussing tonight. So we're going to, obviously, the biggest news of the week, Israel and the Gaza as fighting
conflict.
Rages.
I think that's
conflict.
probably the best way to put that. Conflict.
So we'll have a brief history, of course, of the Gaza conflict over the past 75 years. So we'll talk about that. Biden has now reversed courses and plans to build a new wall around the southern border near Mexico. Interesting development there. And then, of course, we're going to also talk about some of the classified.
Mexico to pay for it.
And maybe we'll talk about the classified document situation going on with Biden as well.
Racist.
So we'll have that conversation. But anyways,
this is a sneak peek of what's
so
coming.
welcome everyone. Welcome, gentlemen. How we doing tonight?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. What am I doing?
That mic is
The new mic position kind of threw me off.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to I don't know, man. I'm trying to do something a little different, but it didn't work. So now I'm going to go back because you made me feel bad. So
Yeah.
Are you on a radio show or something?
live on 100.3. This is Nath, Ryan, and Stu coming to you live. Did I
You
say
could
it
be
twice?
on a radio show.
I could be.
I could.
It's almost like I used to work for one.
That's great. But anyways, yeah, welcome everybody. Appreciate everybody coming through. So we've had a great week. Obviously, it's been a tough one seeing the countless innocent lives that have been lost. Obviously through this conflict. I mean, just through the weekend alone, it was around 600 people who had lost their
I thought
lives.
it was 1,200.
Was it just through the weekend? I thought it went
thought it
up
was
on Monday,
1,200
but okay, you might be
through the
right.
weekend.
Probably 1,200 through the weekend because, I mean, we have lost a massive amount of lives. And then it was like 1,500 past Monday, and I'm pretty sure the death toll has only been rising through this entire incident. So very unfortunate. Definitely should not be happening right now. Again,
Just kind of crazy.
it's
Kind of crazy.
in my opinion, it's just a war that's completely unnecessary, like any other war. Because let's be real, wars don't solve anything.
I don't know if I agree entirely with that
Ooh,
statement.
interesting.
Because if somebody attacks our country, then I fully believe in attacking them back.
Self-defense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
don't want to
okay,
go
fair
start
enough,
a war.
fair
Don't get me
enough.
wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
But if somebody comes in here saying, "Hey, we're going to take you over," then I'm going to say, "Pew pew."
Good luck. There's a reason people want to invade America.
Well, no, I think in general,
Right.
even with the Gaza and Israel conflict, the Hamas attacked Israel, and now Israel is retaliating. I don't necessarily know that. I mean, if everything was all peaceful before, which it wasn't, I think something similar happened last year as well. But if things are peaceful, and then an attack comes from one side or the other, I don't care what side it is that attacks.
Right.
If things are peaceful, then you're in the wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
then, then the other side does have a right to retaliate.
Yep. And so, yeah, I guess we're in agreement with that. But I just, again, I feel like war.
I feel we can all be adults.
Right. I mean, that's
Talk
the
it
other
out a
thing. And I
little
mean,
bit.
again, one thing we've talked about before, if two leaders really hate each other that much, duke it out in an arena by yourselves.
Dude, I would love to see
Yeah,
it.
stop killing innocent people for no reason,
I'd love
just
to see
because
it.
you're
Just
frustrated with each other.
Strap them into an octagon, give them brass knucks, and see who comes out.
See who comes out. Good luck.
Maybe not brass knucks. Maybe that's a little much.
brutal.
I mean, it would be a fight to the death.
Yeah, but make it faster with swords.
Swords.
You're
Let's
wild.
invent lightsabers.
Stu, how you been?
I'm good.
Beautiful.
How about
What do
you guys?
What do you think would be better, Stu? Brass knucks, swords.
For what?
The
Duking it
leaders
out.
fighting to the death.
Brass knuckles.
I think so
Oh.
too, man.
Okay.
Because swords would take the fun away. What if one of them is trained in fencing and the other's not?
Yeah, true.
You get these two bad boys and you get some knucks on top of them.
Or you could just do bare knuckle. Oh lordy!
We're not
All
looking
right.
for a long, drawn out battle
Yeah,
here.
you're
We're looking
right.
for like a decisive victory.
let's move forward.
And this is completely hypothetical. We're saying that
Oh,
if
absolutely.
the leaders of these countries that want to go to war and they want to go and they want to expend all this human life, they should be man enough to step into the ring themselves and duke it out with whatever problems they have,
So let's
instead of taking us all down with you.
let's talk about this. So, got a nice article here. It's going to talk about everything going on. So, the death toll rises in Israel and Gaza as fighting rages, and what we need to know. So, Hamas stunned the world when it launched a surprise land and sea attack against cities across Israel, in the most serious incursion against the country in decades. The Israel military retaliated with heavy bombardment against the besieged Gaza Strip. So more than 1,200 Israelis and 1,100 Palestinians have been killed. Wow.
300 people already.
So far. Thousands have been injured and tens of thousands of others have been displaced in fighting that comes after a year of escalating violence in Jerusalem and occupied West Bank. At least 22 Americans were killed in the Hamas attack. The White House said on Wednesday U.S. citizens are also among the hostages Hamas holds in Gaza. At least 17 Americans were still missing. The White House said earlier Tuesday. The Israeli military announced on Monday it has mobilized 300,000 reserve soldiers, the largest number of reservists called to duty in decades as part of preparations for a possible ground offensive in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told President Biden on Sunday that Israel has no choice but to go into Gaza. U.S. and Israel sources told Axios Barak Ravid. So the latest, Netanyahu.
I think it's Netanyahu.
Netanyahu. I'll take it. I trust you.
Netanyahu.
Netanyahu.
Are you sure? Like Netanyahu sounds. Are you sure? Net on Yahoo.
I trust y'all.
Netanyahu.
I trust y'all. I butcher every name. So
You really do butcher the names.
butcher names bad.
Like whenever we talk about, you should take the American articles and then let either Stu or I take the others.
I am so bad at butchering
'Cause,
names.
dude. Some of these names, oh my god, especially the Russian names. You're
I'm
bad at
bad
the Russian
with
names.
the Russian names. So
Yeah. I mean, who's good at them though?
Netanyahu. Netanyahu. Okay, I'll go with that. I like
Netanyahu.
it.
That sounds right. I mean, if I was to pronounce it.
An opposition member and former Defense Prime Minister Benny Gantz agreed on Wednesday to form an emergency unity government, move that underscores how big the crisis in Israel is as a result of the deadly Hamas attack. Gantz's role in the new unity government will significantly strengthen the security experience around the decision-making table. Biden held his fourth call with Netanyahu on Wednesday, and the U.S. president later in the day reiterated his support for Israel, saying the attack has brought to the surface the painful memories and scars left by a millennia of anti-Semitism and genocide against the Jewish people. And this moment, we have crystal clear there is no justification for terrorism, no excuse.
Netanyahu.
Hey, nice. The Israelis' military's bombardment of Gaza continued Wednesday, and sirens went off across parts of Israel due to incoming rocket fire from Palestinian militants in the enclave. Cross-border fighting also continued to escalate along the Israel and Lebanese border.
Bro, look at that.
Yeah, that's the kind of destruction that you're seeing. And for those of you on TikTok who are not seeing this, we'll kind of show you here. So that's the kind of destruction they're seeing. Unfortunately, this is an aerial view of buildings being destroyed by Israeli airstrikes in the Jabalia camp for Palestinian refugees in Gaza City. So, just a little bit of the destruction that you're getting an image of, and again, this is just a horrible thing to see. So,
You know what's wild? My brother-in-law was in Israel like 3 weeks ago.
really,
Yeah.
wow,
Right?
wow. Very, very fortunate to be out at the time he
I
did.
mean, he could have been one of the Americans like captured. He could have been
You never know.
like he and his girlfriend, fiance, been. Well, no, she didn't go with him. He was there by himself.
Either way, that's still
But
glad he made it out. So Gaza health authorities issued a dire warning on Wednesday as the sole operating power plant in the strip shut down after running out of fuel. This threatens to plunge the strip into complete darkness and make it impossible to continue providing all basic life services. Israel cut electricity and blocked food, fuel, and other supplies from getting into Gaza after declaring a complete siege of the enclave, which had already been under a strict Israeli blockade. Supported by Egypt for 16 years, the Rafah crossing into Egypt closed on Tuesday due to the Israeli raids on Gaza. Human Rights Watch slammed Israel's complete siege as a call to commit a war crime. HRW has also said the killing of civilians and taking the hostages constitute a violation of international law and war crimes. The fuel stock to operate the generators in Gaza Strip hospitals will end tomorrow, Thursday, which will exasperate the disastrous conditions in the hospitals, the Gaza Health Authority said. So more than 263,900 people have been displaced in Gaza since the war began, the UN Humanitarian Office said late Tuesday. Many are sheltering the UN-run schools. Several schools have sustained damage from airstrikes. The WHO said Gaza was already running out of much-needed medical supplies. Hospitals reported being overwhelmed by numbers of injured people and dead bodies arriving from across Gaza. Several health facilities have also been damaged in the Israeli raids. So how all this happened: Hamas fired thousands of rockets into the Israeli cities early on Saturday. Hamas militants then broke through the border barrier between Gaza and Israel. They entered southern Israel with pickup trucks and occupied Israeli villages and towns close to the border, killing soldiers and civilians while taking a significant number of other children and elderly women hostage. In what AP described as a rampage, believed to be the worst civilian massacre in Israeli history, Hamas killed at least 260 Israelis at a music festival being held in a field outside of Kibbutz Reem.
Boots Reem.
In southern Israel, near the border of Gaza, with many others being taken hostage. So as a Hamas military wing spokesperson said on Saturday that all those who were kidnapped were being held in hideouts around Gaza, including in tunnels. The Israeli military didn't respond to the initial attack for several hours. Here's a little map as well, as you can see. How has Israel responded? So they responded with retaliation with the airstrikes. The enemy will pay unprecedented price. Netanyahu told Palestinian residents to leave areas where militants were located, saying Israel would turn all Hamas hiding places into rubble. We will operate everywhere with all of our force. This war will take time and it will be a difficult one, but we will win, Netanyahu said. So what did Hamas say about the attack? Well, Hamas spokesperson Khalid Kadomi told Al Jazeera that the group wants the international community to stop atrocities in Gaza against Palestinian people, our holy sites like Al-Aqsa. All these things are the reason behind starting this battle. More than 2 million Palestinians live in Gaza, an area roughly twice the size of Washington, D.C., which has been under a strict blockade by Israel, backed by Egypt for 16 years. Violence in the occupied West Bank has escalated this year, including an attack on Palestinians in the village of Huwara. In February, Israel's far-right government has moved to expand housing in Israeli settlements in the West Bank, which most of the international community considers illegal under international law. Violence and escalating tensions have often centered around holy sites for both Jewish and Muslims in Jerusalem. That is home of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Aqsa. What have other countries said? So Israel's allies and many other countries condemned Hamas's attack. Others called for de-escalation on both sides. I can agree with that. President Biden stressed that the U.S. fully supports Israel. First weapon shipment arrived on Israel on October 10th. Already. The U.S. is also moving its Ford Carrier Strike Group, which includes the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier, to the eastern Mediterranean to bolster regional deterrence efforts. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, in an online statement, said she unequivocally condemned the attack carried out by Hamas terrorists against Israel. Israel has the right to defend itself against such heinous attacks. And Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Nassar Kahani congratulated Palestinian fighters, calling the attack a turning point in an ongoing process of armed resistance by the Palestinian people. What happened today is in the line with continuation of the victories of anti-Zionist resistance movement in various areas, including Syria, Lebanon, and occupied territories. Iran has denied reports it's played a role in the attack. So Saudi Arabia, which has been negotiating a possible mega deal with the U.S. that could include normalization between the kingdom and Israel, urged both sides to end the escalation and protect civilians. So a little bit of context: the recent violence unfolded amidst a deep political crisis in Israel over Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government. judicial overhaul, which had weakened the country's military, economy, and society. U.S.-led negotiations that were underway for a historic peace agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia are jeopardized by the fighting. The normalization of retaliations, the normalization of relations between the two countries have been a top priority for the Biden administration. So a couple of different comments I have here on TikTok. I mean, some people are back in Israel. When will Palestine say they had enough of Hamas? A couple different comments there. So some people siding with Palestinians, some people siding with Israel. So I'm just going to kind of throw out my thoughts here. War is evil in general. There are innocent civilians losing their lives for absolutely no reason. I understand that Palestinians want their independence. I understand Israel wants to have, obviously, more control over the lands. They want to have the ability to have these holy sites, religious sites within their possession. There's a lot of history here. This is not black and white. Hamas did not just attack for no reason. It's so much deeper than what people actually understand. Here in the U.S., I think we're completely ignorant to this, and I don't even think we should be involved. That's my opinion, and I would also be interested, just real quick, to hear what you all have to say, because it just talked about how Israel and Saudi Arabia aren't getting along, whereas Biden says we back Israel. If Trump was in there with the amount of money that he has tied in with Saudi Arabia, would we be on Saudi Arabia's side if he was in office, and how would that kind of go around? So interested on what you all think there, but please take the floor.
Well, to answer the one question, didn't Trump strike a peace deal between Israel and Saudi, or was it Israel and the Palestinians?
I think there for a little bit.
Go ahead and look it up. I know that Trump struck a peace deal in the Middle East. I don't know who it was through. As far as what's going on in Israel, I have no clue
right
as to what side is right here, which side is wrong here. I know that in this latest development, looks like Hamas just attacked a bunch of civilians at a music festival and things like that. I saw some TikToks where they're sitting there and they're partying at this festival, and then they look up and there's these paragliders coming in, and all of a sudden people are shot.
Right.
That's kind of crazy, man.
Sudan and Israel, by the way.
Sudan and Israel.
Yep.
Okay.
So he did get some peace out there, though, which was awesome.
No, I know he was working on that. Or top. Sorry, I know I was getting away from a mic.
No.
So yeah, I know that the area has been fighting since before Jesus walked the earth.
Yeah,
so,
basically.
I mean, have you ever seen that movie Kingdom of Heaven?
I have not.
Yeah, that was one. It was an amazing 4-hour movie, but it was also an amazing movie. It was a great history lesson on Jerusalem and things like that. I mean, that area, dude, that area is just constantly under fire.
Complicated.
It seems like it's always fighting, no matter what is going on. And I don't know why. Is it resource rich? Is it because you think about oil, okay, right? Well, Venezuela has more oil. America has more oil. So why are we sitting there with a conflict? You think about lithium, right? Well, we just found a huge lithium deposit in Washington.
Right.
Why is it, even if it is these mineral rich places, is it worth all the blood that's being spilled?
Right.
I know Africa has a ton of minerals, but Africa is also always under conflict as well.
Yeah. You have a lot of conflict.
I understand that there's always going to be conflict around things that are of value. That just is how it is.
Right.
Until the aliens come down and unite us all against them.
Had to get it in there.
There will always be conflict. So that just is what it is.
Yeah.
And again, war is wrong, but it's one of those things where I'm not going to go and punch you in the face, but if you try to swing on me, then I'm going to make sure that you eat concrete.
And we're going to end it. Yep.
Yeah.
I understand that.
So I don't condone violence, but I also am not dumb enough to think that the use of violence is not necessary sometimes.
Yeah. So I like some of the comments we're getting here on TikTok. So
Let's hear it.
um
And then we'll go to
One-
Stu and get his thoughts.
yeah, absolutely. One person talked about how we have completely wiped out like the Native American population when we came here and inhabited America. So, our opinions should be like the last ones to even be considered. One of them says the USA needs to stop trying to be the world police, which I can agree with. We need to stay out of this. This is a situation that we don't understand.
Then how do we fund the military-industrial complex?
That's the problem. So speaking on that, we have invested so much money into places like Ukraine and Israel that we are basically buying these countries. That's what we're doing.
But we're not, because they're still going to do their own thing.
They're gonna do their own thing, but the backdoor
We're
deals,
just
I
going to
believe,
be
that are
there
happening.
saying, why don't you make that deal a little sweeter for us?
That's,
Just give you 130 billion, Ukraine.
Yep. So, interesting stuff there. So, Stu, let's hear your thoughts. Israel and Hamas. What do you think?
I'll start with saying that it's very unfortunate that a lot of innocent lives have been lost
Very.
on both sides, and all those lives matter there in that country. You touched on a lot, Naif, with war, which I do agree with. I wish both these sides could come to some sort of peace deal.
Yep.
With that being said, I do think that USA should not be involved, and like I'm sick of us being involved in Ukraine, involved with Saudi Arabia, involved with Israel, all these places that we're funding, and where all this war happens. And that's pretty much my view. That I think a lot of it comes down to perspective too, because there's a perspective with the Israeli people, and there's a perspective with the people in Palestine.
Right.
So it's not black and white, like you said. These issues are very complex, and I would challenge everybody to go and do a little research of the encounter of these two. It's all one country, but two different people.
Right. No, I agree with you there. The thing there is we were distracting him. He was over here like Ryan's dumbfounded by this stand and the ability to raise. Stewart's all distracted. That was
No,
great.
I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I was trying to figure out a better way for our TikTok viewers to
Kind of get a full picture there.
Kind of get a full picture.
Yeah.
I apologize, but yeah, I didn't realize that was like extendo like that. I'm sorry, Stu. I was really truthfully not trying
He was
to.
so excited about
sorry,
seeing
man.
that thing go. It was great.
No, because it's not great. Because Stu was making like a really good point, and what he was talking about is very serious, and I wasn't trying to take away from that. And I was trying to do it as quietly as possible. So I do apologize, Stu.
I'm still laughing. That was great. Yeah. So the Israel and Hamas situation, like you said, Stu, the war is absolutely the last thing that we need to be having. It's very unfortunate that we're losing a bunch of civilian lives over something so pointless. And it just makes no sense as to why these leaders tend to, again, fight using people instead of like if y'all are so unhappy with each other, settle it yourselves. Stop wasting human life for no reason.
In a conflict like this, though, I don't know if it's the leaders that are making this conflict.
That's true. That is true.
This might be a conflict of the people.
That is also true, because it has a lot to do with religion. It has a lot to do with the. So actually, this would probably be a great time to jump straight into like 75 years of what's been happening with all this. Would you all like to go through a history lesson with me?
Israel just like not even exist until like 75 years ago?
Good
like
question.
legally?
You want to find out?
Pretty sure.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah,
Oh, of
please.
course.
Yeah, so I think war is like a huge failure on humanity. So I think it's a big failure on both these sides, no matter whose perspective you're looking from. Because Palestine, they think they're in the right. and Israel, they think they're in the right. So, but I think both sides have some failure to carry with them, and I think USA does too.
Well, and it comes down to ultimately, I believe it comes down to, one of the things that I love from a mentor, not somebody that I personally know, but somebody that I look over, is extreme accountability, right?
Jocko.
Yeah, there you go. I believe in extreme accountability, and I believe in being able to admit where you go wrong and being able to kind of swallow your pride and say, hey, I messed up here, and this is what I'm going to do to fix it. And I believe that's essentially what both sides need to do, is sit down, figure out what they can do. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Palestinian people don't actually have a land called Palestine, do they? Like, there's
Don't
no
think so.
country that's Palestine.
No, I don't
and
think
they
so.
want their independence away from Israel.
I have no clue.
I believe that's where a lot of this comes from. I'm not 100% on
I
that.
believe you're correct.
But yeah, I think that's where it comes from. So the Palestinian people want their independence, which there's nothing wrong with that, wanting to be your own independent country. But does Israel want to give up that little bit of their land to allow somebody else to become
Apparently,
independent?
there's like a lot of very significant historical sites there, though.
And there is, and Israel has taken those over
But
long
I mean,
ago.
what are you
going to
do? Just bomb it into the ground and then
that's
take
the
it
other
over?
thing.
Like,
Yeah,
oh,
you
this
just-
is still the Holy Land, even though we've flattened it.
Yeah, so and that's where I guess maybe the Palestinians are seen as somebody who is maybe a terrorist, where they're saying, well, these are our holy lands, and if you all are just going to control them, then nobody can have them, kind of thing. Maybe I don't know exactly where that's at or how that's aligned, but
And also, I'll say, like, there's
Oh, no, for
never an excuse to just kill innocent civilian lives.
agreed.
So, like, I know we've seen a lot of our government in the United States, calling for retaliation, but think of all of the innocent lives that stand in the middle of that retaliation.
Right.
I mean,
And in the way.
we really don't have any, thing to say here in the United States, because our own government is guilty of drone strikes
Yep.
in the Middle East and
That have
killing innocent civilian lives.
Yes.
So that's kind of my view on this whole situation, that war that's, if anything that comes out of it, that's what's going to happen, is all these innocent people will die.
Yep, and that's the unfortunate thing about all this. So we're gonna run through this Reuters article. Well, go ahead, please.
I was listening to the JRE earlier, and he had two guests on from Britain or the UK. I mean, it wasn't Britain, so I apologize. But they were like talking about war, right? And they were like, they were just talking about how there's a whole group of people in the world, right, that just don't think like you and I.
No, not at all.
They think about war, they think about money, they think about, like, that's the game that they play.
Yeah.
Like, we play life, like, oh, we're just gonna go to work and we're gonna take care of our families and we're gonna try to make this world as good of a place as we can for
Absolutely.
us and ours. And then you have this whole other group of people that are out there like, well, we could kill X amount of people in this area, and that's acceptable. Well, that's deemed acceptable losses, as long as we can get the resources.
It's like modern Game of Thrones.
Oh, it absolutely
Yeah,
is.
that's
like,
all it
that's
is.
What
It's a power
politics
show.
is.
Yeah, that's
like,
all
if you just
politics
watch
and everything.
if you just watch politics, it's like Game of Thrones without the death.
And that's the sad part.
In the actual throne room.
Right. And that's
Like,
that's the
there
sad
probably
part of it
is
all.
all the incest. There probably is all the the backdoor dealings and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
and like the just crazy stuff like that. But you don't see senators dying, which would have happened in Game of Thrones.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's another thing I'm going to say. You just made me think of this. All of the politicians that call for retaliation, they need to go over there and fight.
Exactly. Stop sitting here sending.
Put an M16 in their hand and let's go,
yeah,
buddy.
go ahead.
Because I'm really tired of these politicians starting wars and
Which
sending us
companies
into
do these
war, but they're not
politicians
going to
have
fight
their
in it.
stocks
Yeah,
like in?
We were just talking about that earlier. Nikki Haley and
are they in Lockheed?
yeah.
Are they in
Lindsey
Raytheon?
Graham.
Lindsey Graham and
Are they
Nikki
in-
Haley talking about we need to back Israel and we need to put an absolute stop to this. Yeah, what kind of stocks do you all
Northrop
have?
Grumman.
Yeah, exactly. So
Y'all, how heavily invested are you in those? And then how heavily are you invested in the investment banks that are going to go in there and help rebuild?
And that's what
it
I'm saying.
afterward?
If they want to go to war, well, y'all can go to war.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that is straight up blood money.
And then you know what else is interesting is so you go back to, and I'm pretty sure it was Ali, right? Who
Muhammad?
who wouldn't go into the draft.
That was Cassius Clay.
I thought it was Muhammad Ali too. Well,
You don't know who Muhammad Ali is, do you?
No, oh, is that his full name?
So Cassius Clay was Muhammad Ali before Muhammad Ali was
I
Muhammad
did not
Ali.
know that.
Yeah.
Taught me
When
a
he-
history lesson today.
When Cassius Clay converted to Muslim,
Right.
then he became
Muhammad Ali.
So
Interesting.
Cassius Clay draft dodged and said that he would absolutely not go fight in a war he didn't believe in.
Because he basically said, "Why would I go fight for these politicians? I mean, why
They
would
don't-
you?"
I think his exact words were, "Why would I go fight for the white man when the white man doesn't give a damn about me?"
Oh,
Something like that.
something like that. But yeah,
I'm pretty daggone close.
to take the ethnicity out of it, he's completely right and put politicians in place. Essentially, is how I feel.
Pretty much.
You know, you like, why would I go fight for these people when they do not care about me?
Well,
why
also,
would I?
I mean, you got to think that was in the '60s.
True.
the whole
So
civil rights thing
the
was
civil
going-
rights thing was still going on. So no, I mean, he had a valid point
Yeah.
then, especially. But yeah, just like today, nowadays, it's like, why would I go fight for a government that doesn't care about me at all? You know, like, I'll protect my land, I'll protect where I have everything, but yeah,
At the same time, like, I also don't want us to like venture into that place where it's like, well, soldiers, why would they do what they do? Because I have the utmost respect for the men and women who volunteer and write the government a blank check
right.
to secure our interests and to, defend our country and to be the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I have a tremendous amount of respect for those people. But at the same time, I'm kind of the same mindset that you are. Like, well, they're not using our tax dollars to make our country better, but instead they're using our tax dollars to fund endless wars everywhere else. Why would I sign up for that?
And something else I want to add too about like the retaliation aspect of, if somebody attacks us, we need to, go back after them. I just like want to reminisce on 9/11 a little bit because, when they attacked us, when Al Qaeda attacked us, you saw America come together and you saw people, supporting George Bush and whatnot.
Right.
And, everybody was angry. Well, what did that turn into? That
20
anger
war.
turned into the invasion of Iraq, somebody that had nothing to do with 9/11.
Right.
And like I said earlier, tons of civilians died and tons of innocent people died. And here we were in that war from 2001, Iraq war, Afghanistan war. We just got out of that 2 years ago. So in this time when it's so easy to have all this anger and hatred towards somebody for attacking somebody else, we need to detach a little bit. And hindsight's always 20/20, but let's think about right now what could potentially happen, if we choose violence.
Great point, Stu. I love that. So all right, let's jump into this. Let's talk about these past 75 years. So start in 1948. So it was the end of British rule. A British colonial rule came to an end in Palestine in the late 1940s. Violence intensified between Jews and Arabs. Culminating in war between the newly created State of Israel and its Arab neighbors in May of 1948. Tens of thousands of Palestinians took refuge in Gaza after fleeing or being driven from their homes. The invading Egyptian army had seized a narrow coastal strip 25 miles long, which ran from Sinai. Those are two I's, right? Yeah, Sinai to just south of Ashkelon. The influx of refugees saw Gaza's population triple to around 200,000. So 50s and 60s, Egyptian military rule. So Egypt held the Gaza Strip for 2 decades under a military governor, allowing Palestinians to work and study in Egypt. Armed Palestinian Fedayeen many of them refugees, mounted attacks into Israel, drawing reprisals. 1967, war and Israeli military occupation. So Israel captured the Gaza Strip in 67. Middle East war. An Israeli census that year put Gaza's population at 394,000, at least 60% of them refugees. So jump over to 87, the first Palestinian uprising. So Hamas formed 20 years after the 1967 war. Palestinians launched their first intifada, or uprising. It began in December of 1987 after a traffic accident in which an Israeli truck crashed into a vehicle carrying Palestinian workers in Gaza's Jabalia refugee camp, killing 4. Stone-throwing protests, strikes, and shutdowns followed. So, seizing the angry mood, the Egypt-based Muslim Brotherhood created an armed Palestinian branch, Hamas. With its power based in Gaza, Hamas dedicated it to Israel's destruction and restoration of Islamic rule in what it saw as occupied Palestine, became a rival to Yasser Arafat's secular Fatah Party, and led the Palestinian Liberation Organization. So 93, the Oslo Accords and the Palestinian semi-autonomy. So Israel and Palestine signed a historic peace accord in 1993 that led to the creation to the Palestinian Authority. Under the interim deal, Palestinians were first given limited control in Gaza and Jericho in the West Bank. Arafat returned to Gaza after decades in exile. So in that picture, you actually see Yasser Arafat shake his hands with Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, as President Bill Clinton stands between them at the White House. So, jumping down to 2000, it's the second Palestinian Intifada. In 2000, Israeli-Palestinian relations sank to a new low.
They had 7 years of peace, basically.
Yeah, basically. Sank to a new low with the outbreak of the second Palestinian Intifada. It ushered in a period of suicide bombings and shooting attacks by Palestinians and Israeli airstrike demolitions, no-go zones, and curfews. One casualty was Gaza International Airport, a symbol of thwarted Palestinian hopes for economic independence and the Palestinians' only direct link to the outside world that was not controlled by Israel or Egypt. Opened in 1998, Israel deemed it a security threat and destroyed its radar antenna and run away a few months after September 11, 2001 attacks on the United States. Another casualty was Gaza's fishing industry. A source of income for tens of thousands, Gaza's fishing zone was reduced by Israel, a restriction it said was necessary to stop boats smuggling weapons. Then we get to 2005. Israel evacuates its Gaza settlements. In August of 2005, Israel evacuated all troops and settlers from Gaza, which was then completely fenced off to the outside world by Israel. Palestinians tore down the abandoned buildings and infrastructure for scrap. The settlement's removal led to a greater freedom of movement within Gaza, and the tunnel economy boomed as armed groups, smugglers, and entrepreneurs quickly dug scores of tunnels in Egypt. But the pullout also removed settlement factories, greenhouses, and workshops that had employed some Gazans. So 2006, isolation under Hamas. In 2006, Hamas scored a surprise victory in Palestinian parliamentary elections and then seized full control of Gaza, overthrowing forces loyal to Arafat's successor, President Mahmoud Abbas. Much of the international community cut aid to Palestinians in Hamas-controlled areas because they regained Hamas as a terrorist organization. Jumping down a little bit, we're going to go down to, getting close to the end. So, ambitious Hamas plans refocus Gaza's economies east, away from Israel, founded before they even started, viewing Hamas as a threat. Egypt's military-backed leader, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who took power in 2014, closed the border with Gaza and blew up most of the tunnels. Once again, isolated Gaza's economy went into reverse. Conflict cycle. So Gaza's economy had suffered repeatedly in the cycle conflict, attack, and retaliation between Israel and Palestinian military groups. Before 2023, some of the war fighting was in 2014 when Hamas and the other groups launched rockets at heartland cities in Israel. Israel carried out airstrikes and artillery bombardment that devastated neighbors in Gaza. More than 2,100 Palestinians were killed, mostly civilians. Israel put the number of its dead at 67 soldiers and 6 civilians. So then 2023, surprise attack. So while Israel was led to believe it was containing a war, wary Hamas by providing economic incentives to Gazan workers, the group's fighters were being trained and drilled in secret. On October 7th, Hamas gunmen launched a surprise attack on Israel, rampaging through towns, killing hundreds and taking dozens of hostages back to Gaza. Israel took revenge, hammering Gaza with airstrikes and razing entire districts in some of the worst bloodletting in 75 years of conflict. So
God,
there's
look at
so
that picture
much
right there.
packed into this.
Look at that picture right there.
Yeah, I mean, this is just
Holy
atrocious, dude.
crap.
This is horrible. Take a gander there. TikTok. So again, I understand that Palestinians want independence. They want a place to call their own. They've been under control of Egypt, of Israel. Israel wants control. Egypt wanted control. Everybody just wants control, and Palestinians just want to have freedom. So,
but here's the
who's-
hard part. I mean, based on the
who's right and who's
timeline
wrong?
that you're seeing there, it sounds like every time that Gaza has gotten some kind of economy going, then they launch an offensive against whoever, either Israel or Egypt. So, I mean, that's just based on what the timeline that I saw there. I don't know the actual story, and maybe I'm way off. Maybe it's just the suppression by Israel and the suppression by Egypt, and that's why they keep launching these offensives.
So from what I'm getting, kind of, is that they want essentially their own governed state. Like, they want to have something that's considered their own.
But they have never been shown to be trustworthy.
I mean,
Like, here's the question. Do you trust a grizzly bear to not eat you?
okay, so here's how I'll take it, right? So you want to be independent from me, right? But I'm like, here, you can work. We'll provide you some economic incentives, things like that, but you'll stay under me this whole time. That's kind of how I'm picking this up, right?
I'm getting that too.
Yeah, no matter what, they want independence, but nobody will give it to them, is the sense that I'm getting. But I mean, at the same time,
But every time they've gotten something good going, then they attack.
right?
So like
It's tough.
And okay, so the airport thing, that sounds like that was no good because,
Right.
sounds like Israel bombed that after September 11th because of whatever the case may be. But the I guess the analogy that I'm using with the grizzly bear, it's like, would you trust a grizzly bear not to like harm you if you took a captive grizzly bear and you just set it down in the wild? Like, you're standing there beside it and you're like, okay, Mr. Grizzly Bear, you're free now. Would you not expect that grizzly bear to attack you?
I completely understand that, and here's where I'm gonna go. I want to really get to the educated source close to the matter. Yep,
He's back.
he's back. So Mr. Prophet Mill, I would love to hear your take on this. Glad you're here because we do have a highly educated source close to this matter. So I would love to hear your thoughts, your opinions. If you are actually educated in this one.
Okay,
Because
where's the comment?
Yeah.
Where's the highly
It's on
educated source
YouTube.
close to? Like, let me see it, boys.
Here you go.
Where is
There,
the?
well, he's got shaking my head right
Shake
there.
my head.
Hit multi-stream. That should pop it up.
Oh,
there.
Prophet Mill.
Yeah, but anyways, so yeah, if you have any thoughts on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict going on there, we'd love to hear it from you. So interesting thought there. Somebody on TikTok said, "Sounds like the grizzly bear is in a cage." No question mark. So, that's another way of putting it as well. So yeah, there's so many ways of looking at it.
I mean,
It's so
yeah.
difficult. It really is.
It does sound like the grizzly bear is in a cage, but again, what happens when the grizzly bear's out of the cage?
Yeah.
Like, is the grizzly are you still?
Will you be satisfied?
Are you trusting that the grizzly bear is not going to come and swipe at you when you're in the woods?
Right. And again, everybody has their different takes and their
Yeah.
different thoughts, but
Again, and I don't know. I'm not a part of that conflict. I'm not over there. I'm not in it, and I'm not trying to speak upon it.
Right.
I'm just saying that based on the timeline that we just went through and what we're seeing, and granted, now that was a very highly condensed timeline. Let's be real. I'm sure
Right.
that there's a lot
There's a
more
lot
to
more that goes in there.
But yeah, based on what I'm seeing there,
Yeah.
it does sound like it's
Yeah, it's tough, man. This is a tough conversation to have. I believe, you know, and again, we knew this was going to be our longest topic of the night, so we spent about 45 minutes discussing this. So
I think the best thing people can do is go do some research on this topic.
educate yourself.
Educate yourself.
Like,
I completely agree.
We've opened the door. Now it's time for you guys to walk through it.
Yep.
Yeah, because there's only so much we can talk about here in a limited amount of time.
Yeah, and I don't know where else we can go with it.
If people want to start liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, and following all of our stuff, maybe we could have more episodes.
Hey, I
where
would
we
love
could
to
start
go
doing
in
that.
depth.
But the fact is, you got to like, share, comment, follow, subscribe. Let's go.
Hey.
Especially to the Royal Rumble.
Thank you for that rose there, Kenny. Appreciate the rose on TikTok. No idea what that rose does, but I appreciate it. I know it's a gift.
How do you know we're noobs? I don't know what this rose does, but it's
I
cool.
appreciate you.
I'll put it in my teeth.
I know it's like a donation thing, so really
Is it?
appreciate that.
Very
yeah,
cool.
really
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
that. Thank you so much.
I think
Kenny.
we hit on a lot of key points. You know,
we do.
obviously nobody likes war. Well, maybe U.S. politicians do, but here the fact is we don't like war, and it's, you know, an atrocity that innocent civilians are dying, you know, in this conflict, and it's not so black and white. You know,
It's not.
you know, there's some gray area there, and we all need to do, you know, our own research, and, you know, because what I see on, you know, people wake up and they turn on the news and whatever it is, you know, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, and whatever they're telling them, you know, all this happened today in Israel, you know, they think they, you know, have all the answers and they have all the information that they need. I mean, you're probably getting fed a biased view of the situation. So that's why I say you need to go and do your own research and challenge and validate what those people are telling you, either whether it's on TV, whether it's online. Go do your own research. Don't just take their word for it, because
Right.
it is like, it's a deeper, there's a lot more info in this conflict than you're led to believe, I think.
Yeah. So
Also,
go
hold on
ahead,
before you go.
please.
If it is October 11th of 2023,
That it is.
if you are getting your information specifically from CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, or what's another one?
I mean, those are basically the big three.
Those three right there. If you are getting your news specifically from one of those three sources, bruh.
Yeah,
Like,
but, I mean, it's kind of
you are doing the world no favors, because that is a bunch of propagandist bullcrap.
I mean, they're all owned by the same people.
And that's the even worse part. It's like they are owned by the same company. So
yeah, it's wild.
do yourself a favor, diversify your information, and go learn something today.
So, real quick, gonna touch
Thank
up
you for
on
coming to my TED Talk.
Mr. Educated Source close to the
A
matter. So,
highly educated source close to the matter.
well, grizzly bears don't have to attack simply because they fear you fear they might. They attack because they know they can. Interesting thought there.
See, that's why I use the analogy of a grizzly bear, because grizzly bears will literally just mess you up for no reason.
For no reason. I've told you, fellas, crime is about opportunity, no matter the size of the crime, which is also true. So there's that. And then good to see you three. Good to see you, brother. Appreciate you coming back.
Broski, I miss you.
We do all miss
I
you
miss you so much.
in many ways. So, yeah, awesome. We got some discussion going on here in the TikTok comments as well. It looks like
Let's hear
some are
what's going on in the
Palestinian,
Tickverse.
some are Israel.
Or Talkverse.
You know, it's just they're discussing about whether or not they believe the Israel or Palestinians are incorrect in this matter, and there's one side on each. So it's
Another
it's-
thing that I
yeah,
want to add
tough.
too, just based off what you said, Nath, about our comments.
Yeah, please.
It's probably more educational to listen to people that are from that area on both of those sides.
I would tend to agree.
Yep, and I really like what Kenny's saying here as well, the one who donated to us again. Thank you, Kenny. But it seems a very messed up situation. Both sides wrong, innocents are suffering. And it's as simple as that, right? Like, it really does come down to the fact that innocent people are losing their lives. So
It's a failure.
horrible. It really is. It really is a failure amongst many people.
See, my question is why can't we do it like back in the day, right? Everybody who wants to fight goes out into a big field and they slug it out.
Gracious, man. Those were some brutal battles.
They were some brutal battles, but you know what? No, I take that back, because a lot of towns, and like once the battle was won on the battlefield, then the town would fall and everything else would fall. But you know, but the goriness of the fight happened on the battlefield.
Right.
So like, why doesn't everybody just meet up in a field, man?
You would think.
Like LARP it. Let's go.
LARP it. All right, let's move forward.
And I know I
So-
keep adding
no,
things,
please go ahead. I love it.
but this is the last thing I'll say. In my opinion, we need to stop U.S. involvement in the Middle East, because I
Absolutely.
think we just make these issues way worse.
We do make it a lot worse, and I will 100% agree with that.
We are a bunch of crooks.
Hey, Kenny, thank you for another rose. Got a second rose. Oh,
Hey.
and we got confetti. Look at that. Appreciate you, Kenny. I seriously have no idea what these are, but this is awesome. Thank you.
But on the tickety talk verse, we are killing it.
Okay. Anyways, we'll find out what that is later. We'll do some research.
All right. Now, the next article,
This one's fun.
I want to make sure that Nave can read this. Is it about Americans?
Touche. All right. So next article, let's discuss it. Biden reverses course and plans new border wall construction. Trump.
Okay, so we're completely American
We're completely
here.
American here.
With-
Trump demands apology. Which
I could see why.
I could see why.
Wait. Does this make Biden like super racist?
That's the question. So, former President Donald Trump demanded an apology from President Joe Biden on Thursday after the Biden administration announced plans to resume construction of the border wall championed by Trump, marking a reversal from Biden's previous criticisms of the project. So, some key facts. Trump questioned whether Biden will apologize to me and America for taking so long to get it moving on constructing the border wall. He wrote on Truth Social on Thursday using his preferred nickname, Crooked Joe Biden. To refer to the president and accusing him of breaking
He's
every
such a
environmental
child.
law. He really is. Every environmental law in the book to prove that Trump was right. The Biden administration will build physical barriers in Starr County, Texas, along the U.S.-Mexico border using funds appropriated for the project in 2019, the Department of Homeland Security said in a notice posted Wednesday on the Federal Registry. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said there is an
I
acute
spoke too soon.
and immediate need for the barriers to prevent unlawful entries into the United States, adding that the agency is required to use the 2019 funds for the appropriate purpose.
You know, it's crazy how this all of a sudden this wall is definitely necessary, and we need to do this. And Trump was still wrong. He was a bad guy. But you know, now that Biden's doing it, it's okay. You know why it's happening, Nave? You know why?
Why is that?
Because they shipped 55,000 people
Up
to
to
New
New York.
City.
And they're having
Hey,
a lot
maybe
of
Biden's just a better salesman than Trump.
issues.
Sure.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
DHS will waive 26 federal laws to expedite the project, including provisions of the National Environmental Policy and Endangered Species Act, drawing criticism from the environmental groups like the Center of Biological Diversity. The move backtracks on Biden's previous opposition of the border wall. He told NPR while running for president in 2020 there will not be another foot of wall constructed on my administration. He lied. And he issued a proclamation upon taking office to end the construction, stating building a massive wall that spans the entire southern border is not a serious policy solution, as you're doing it now. Biden said Thursday he still believes the border wall is ineffective, but said DHS has no choice but to use the funding for new construction because the money was already appropriated.
Oh yeah,
It's a good way to save yourself, right? So what we don't know,
I think it's so effective, but I mean, the money's already there, right? Like, I mean, what can we do?
it's unclear how extensive the project will be. Wednesday's announcement did not provide mileage details, but a CBP map of the project published in June laid out plans to build another 20 miles of additional barriers made of steel bollard panels. A border wall is a 14th century solution and a 21st century problem. It is not bolster border security in Starr County. Representative Henry Queller in Texas said in a statement, "I continue to stand against the wasteful spending of taxpayer dollars on an ineffective border wall. 450, that's the number of miles of border wall that were constructed under Trump, who disputed the figure on Thursday, claiming his administration built 560. Always disputing something."
He's such a child. 450 miles was built. No, 560. It was 560. And no, because we did it. We did it the best of anybody.
We build the best walls.
We built the best wall. That's why Biden wants to build it again.
We're Shane Gillis right now. We need that. We need that impersonation that he does.
Oh, dude, I do a terrible Trump impersonation, but I
He's
keep
so
going
good.
back with.
DHS announced that the project, against intensifying Republican criticism of Biden's border policies and demands from some GOP member to resume construction of the wall, Customs and Border Protection has been dealing with a surge of migrant crossings, including more than 232,000 detentions or arrests in August, the most since last December, according to CBP data. A total of 245,000 illegal crossings have been recorded so far this year in the Rio Grande Valley. Officials recently told CNN they expect crossings to remain high while Mexican authorities ramp up enforcement. The influx coincides with the end of a pandemic-era policy known as Title 42 in May that allowed border agents to turn migrants away without allowing them to seek asylum. Parts of the U.S.-Mexico border are already lined with barriers, but constructing a wall across the entire border was a key 2016 campaign promise for Trump, who often pledged to make Mexico pay for the project. The Trump administration built some new fencing and replaced old barriers, but struggled with high costs, limited funding in the court battles over land use. So Biden ended a national emergency declaration that facilitated construction of the border wall under Trump in February 2021 and announced in April that year that he would return funds appropriated for the project in the Pentagon. So there's that. Wow, that was a mouthful. That was a lot.
Time out. Biden says, well, I mean, the money was there, right?
Yep.
That tangent right there. Go back to that tangent real quick. Pull it back up.
Biden ended a national emergency declaration that facilitated construction of the border wall under Trump in February 2021 and announced in April of that year he would return funds appropriated for project to the Pentagon. So he didn't return the funds, and he's just saying we're going to use it anyways.
Well,
I think
according to what they said,
I think it's for his 2024 campaign. He's going to try to. He's going to try to pull. He's going to try to pull some of the right.
Coming from now?
They were already.
If they were already there, then why didn't he reappropriate them to the Pentagon like he said he was going to do?
Yeah.
Maybe this is also because we've sent like $136 billion to Ukraine, and the border wall in total was going to cost like $5 billion.
Maybe. So interesting, right?
Also, there's no way. There's no way.
So in a response he used to, sometimes the actual people from a certain area can be misinformed and misled. It's like
Just like the rest of us.
Yeah, just like the rest of us. That's also a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. You should listen to them as well as, other people too.
Other people too. Yeah, I'm just kind of taking it all. So real quick, we'll touch up. Let's do a quick wrap on the border, everything we got going on here. So my quick take is as simple as this. I don't know if the wall is necessary. Again, it is like a 14th. It is like a 14th century solution to a 21st century problem. I mean, I do agree with that. I do believe there could be better ways to go about this. But, a wall is...
How?
Yeah.
What would be your better way?
So I have talked about this before. I believe in... again, we have over 200,000 unemployed veterans who come back who need the proper mental health care that they deserve. And I do believe in putting manpower on the border to a point where you're allowed to go back to Title 42 and you're allowed to turn away migrants, right? I'm not saying we need to use deadly force or anything in that nature, but we would actually be providing jobs. We would be giving veterans another purpose when they come back home to serve their country in a way that would be beneficial. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that
So
barrier wouldn't help.
Exile the veterans to the border.
Well, not necessarily, but I feel like they would find a sense of purpose there as well, right? There's a lot of people who come back home. Like I and not saying that every veteran feels this way, and I'm not going to speak for all veterans, but I will say that some that I have discussed felt like they lost their sense of purpose when they came back.
Oh, no, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But to sit here and say, okay, there's 200,000 unemployed veterans, right? 200,000. How long is the border?
Right.
It's huge. You're even 200,000 people, if you had them all working, they're not covering that. And that you have to still have this huge influx of people coming across the border.
Right. So it's looking about 1,954 miles.
Okay, so let's do the math here.
Do the math. I like math.
1,000. How much?
954. So just simple math. I mean, if you had 1,954 people, they would each be responsible for a mile along that border, and that's
That'd
just
be 102 people per mile.
Oh, yeah. If you did all of them, I'm not saying you need all of them, but like if you take, 5,000 veterans and you place them on that border, and I'm not saying that you necessarily
51 people per foot.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, well, and I don't think you need that many people. That'd be a little over saturation there. But what I'm saying is, I don't think you need a border that is gonna, like, I do agree, maybe like some sort of physical barrier, maybe like a fence, something of that nature, some sort of barrier. But to do an actual
I think
wall,
an actual wall with entry points to funnel people into the entry point, right, to where we can vet and
allow them to get into the country
the right way. But if you have just a bunch of people standing at the border, eventually deals are going to be struck.
Right.
Eventually things are going to happen.
Oh yeah, there will be some sort of dirty side to it.
Even worse, the cartel comes through,
human trafficking, drugs,
through and just starts dropping people.
Yeah, or that. There is that as well.
Because the cartel could do that.
They could try.
So
I don't think they'd want to start a war with America though.
No, I don't think they would want to either.
I don't
but
think they're that
guerrilla
that dumb.
tactics, we can't even point to flag or point the finger at somebody. But here's the thing, and then all of a sudden now the border becomes a bigger problem than it is.
Right.
Now we're in war with who? The cartels?
And I'm not saying that a wall is not the. I mean, I do believe in some sort of physical barrier. Like that's not.
I think
horrible.
A big old wall.
I don't know though.
A big old wall.
I just look at ways that we could potentially bring down the costs of the wall, but also being able to provide jobs towards millions, maybe not millions of Americans, but hundreds of thousands.
Bruh, bringing down the cost, what you're saying is an oxymoron. If we employ that many people to go to the wall, that's going to end up costing more in the long run than the wall itself would.
But at least we're providing people with a sense of purpose, with giving them benefits, supporting families.
Not disagreeing with that, but what you said is that you wanted to bring down the cost of the wall. But what you're saying is actually going to be more cost inefficient over the long run.
What is the material they're using?
Looks like iron.
I would like to see the cost, but then again, I'm not part of the project or anything.
I think the total price tag for this thing was like $5 billion. Look it up.
Well, if that's all it was, then I mean, in relative of what we sent to Ukraine, never mind.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And the other thing is this: if it curbs the mass exodus coming out of Mexico, right? And it curbs that and it says, hey, chill out. Like, you can't get here anymore, right? You have to come through the right channels.
Right.
Then I think it would be to be expected that the people who are trying to get in are the people who really, truthfully, are trying to seek the asylum or are trying to, do it the right way.
Get vetted the right way.
Yeah.
Which I will say our process is ridiculous.
I have no problem with immigration, none at all. But there are rules and regulations that we have put in place so that when people come to America, they can be integrated correctly and then also take advantage of what American society can provide for them.
Right.
But here's the other thing. It's also so that the burden of tax isn't just on American shoulders when you have that many people coming in.
Right.
Because that's what is starting to get kind of crazy is like all these people are coming across and we're giving them money and we're giving them resources right out of our tax dollars. So we're footing the bill for these people coming across and I don't mind to do that at first, but like get integrated, get yourself to where you can go get a job, and then you start contributing as well.
So looking at the estimated total cost, it's going to be about $19 billion. So yeah, I mean, I guess when you look at it overall, according to what we sent to Ukraine, I guess it's really nothing comparatively.
No, not even.
Comparatively. So yeah, I mean, $19 billion. So I can agree with that. Okay, so yeah, I mean, the actual physical costs, if it's only around $19 billion, that's not bad at all. But I do still believe in also providing again, some sort of security detail along the lines of that wall. And I think we should put a whole, like literally take all, how many miles was it again that I said?
1,954.
1,954. I'd say take all 1,900 miles and you place people along that border. And like you said, actually, that's a great idea as well. Have certain points where it funnels in, like every 5 miles or so, who knows, and then you actually get people in and you get more people to help the vetting process, to help get them through, and not make it years and years, because our tax money is actually going towards something that's going to be beneficial.
Bingo.
So yeah, I mean, I can agree with that, and I guess the cost isn't nearly as bad. I mean, ever since like Ukraine and seeing how much money we've sent out,
just willing to throw away,
and not to mention how we discussed our GDP from last week, 22 trillion, and we're somehow still in freaking debt. You know, now that I think about it, it is a lot more reasonable. You've changed my mind.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out.
And that's what the fact is all about.
No, I mean, that is what the fact is about. Like, we just had a conversation in which we disagreed and we talked it out. And I'm not saying like that I was victorious in this, but I'm saying that the point of view that I had, in my opinion,
you're getting kind of cocky over there.
No, I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm saying that the point of view that I had, in my opinion, was a better point of view. So in doing that, we had an open and honest discourse in which Nath changed his mind. We have open and honest discourse every single week, and sometimes Nath is like, boom, there you go, buddy. That's what I have to think about.
I'm stuck in my ways.
I'm stuck in my ways. I still don't believe in those aliens. Like, it happens every week.
I believe in the aliens. But Stu, I want to hear your thoughts. Border, all that good stuff. Let me hear your thoughts.
Are we not going to talk about the political football that's being played with the Republicans and Democrats?
Oh, absolutely.
Here's me just spectating, zoom out on the lovely political system we have here in this country. And, years ago, like you guys were talking about Trump pushing for a wall, and, he gets called all these names.
He's a racist. He's a bigot.
Yeah. So, and just the negative media coverage that came from that. And then here, we fast forward a couple years and Biden,
was the one calling him a racist bigot.
Says similar things. They're going to start, rebuilding on that wall again. And there's just no pushback from the media. So that's
another in this brilliant stroke of genius, Biden comes up with this new idea to build a wall at the southern border to curb the immigration.
Yeah. So the biggest thing to me is
Thanks, Rachel Maddow.
Is the tone, from 4 years or 3 years, whatever it was, that makes. As far as a solution to the border, I mean, obviously, something's better than nothing.
Right.
I don't live on the border, but I do see the news and things, and it definitely, seems to be an issue. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I, have a solution, but I am open to solutions. And, like you guys have said, and, we say on here regularly that we want people to come to this country, but we need to have, a process that, keeps everyone safe.
Right. Yeah. It's going to touch up on a couple comments here. One individual said that the hosts are not ignorant and that we are reasonable gentlemen. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Wow.
And then, so I really like that comment. Wanted to touch upon that. And then,
does that mean we're going to get hate mail?
Who knows?
Eventually.
As a veteran,
gentleman.
Highly educated source close to the matter said, as a veteran, I too believe there are more non-veteran Americans can find the same sense of purpose. We share the same border. True there. To be a veteran, we first volunteered. We weren't voluntold. There's plenty of unused manpower not taking advantage of plenty of opportunities already. And I will say, because I'm not a veteran and I will not speak for veterans, I just know from the experiences that I've seen and the veterans that I've discussed with, there is a lot of veterans that are getting screwed over when it comes to the mental well-being for themselves, and maybe it's them not taking advantage of it. Maybe it's the system that's kind of screwed them. I don't know exactly, but I just do believe both. Maybe, yeah. I mean, there's all sorts. Everybody has a different story.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We all have different stories. So interesting thing there. I think comparing the cost of securing your backyard versus the out-of-town backyard, is not even a question. Take care of home first. Now, we've discussed that 100%.
Drop the mic.
The amount of money that is gone. Okay, so if you just took a quarter, I believe, of what we've sent to Ukraine, you could not only build the wall and probably fund the manpower behind it, but you could also rebuild Maui. And you could probably fix the water in Jackson, Mississippi. You could fix the water that's happening in New Orleans. You can fix the water in Flint, Michigan. You can help East Palestine with all the issues they've had ever since that train wreck and how condemned the land is going to be there now, or contaminated, I should say.
Hold on now. How much did you say the wall was? 19 billion?
19. And we've sent 136 billion.
Hold on.
So
Hold on, I'm doing the math right now. Okay, so after the border wall, we would still have 15 billion.
Yep.
So 15 billion definitely fixes the water situation. It definitely in Jackson and in Flint,
East Palestine,
and East Palestine
and New Orleans.
I think 15 billion takes care of those. I don't know if 15 billion also then takes care of Maui.
Maui's only needing 5 billion to rebuild their entire city.
So so 10 billion between the other 4 locations water.
Maybe. I mean, if you even need that.
I'm just saying, you did say a quarter, so that's why I was saying, like, if we used a quarter, like, yeah, it pretty much does fix all those problems.
Everything.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like,
so think about that. If we just took a quarter of what we've spent on Ukraine, we could help everything going on here in the U.S.
What do you guys think? Money grows on trees?
No, I think it's printed.
The government
in the
does. Well, so I like this right here. Copperhead actually came back in. What's up, Copperhead?
Hold on. Don't forget his last comment.
Oh, yeah, he's telling you to get off your high horse. So Copperhead actually came back in.
I'm a tall guy.
Building, I like that. Building a wall, they still get in, doesn't work. So I do agree that a physical barrier,
it slows them down.
People will still get in. And again, this is kind of where my concept of actually putting personnel along that border is going to help that process as well. But and it's not that we're against immigration in general, right?
No,
like we want immigrants.
I'm all about immigration.
I'm all about immigration.
I have a lot of friends who are immigrants.
Same here, and to bring people into the country is absolutely right. But when you talk to those who came into the country the right way, they're actually just as frustrated with the fact that people are coming in illegally, and so. I see what you're saying there, Copperhead, but at the same time, you got to understand, it would very much slow it down, and it would definitely help, again, that vetting process, like getting people in here the right way. And I think even the immigrants themselves would be a lot more appreciative of the fact that we're putting more resources towards this to allow them to get in a quicker way. That's better for them.
Think about a river. A dam doesn't stop a river, but it slows it down.
It slows it down.
And
it creates electricity.
A lot of good things come from the dam.
Yep.
So I don't think, man, I'm speaking very metaphorically. I don't know why. Sorry about that, guys.
We're talking about the grizzly bear again.
Grizzly bears, dams, like.
I like it.
But yeah, no. I don't think it completely solves the problem, but I definitely think it puts a lid on it.
Right.
And that's what I'm interested in too, because it would be nice if our politicians could sit down with each other and have honest debate and discourse
like this.
Yeah.
Well, they do. It's just behind closed doors and their backdoor deals.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it'd be nice if, they could, talk about the border and, fixing this issue.
I agree.
It would be nice.
So,
it'd be nice if they could do it and us see them acting like responsible adults.
Yeah, exactly.
That's, I think, like, okay, we see your backdoor deals. We know that you're doing those. We know that money is exchanging hands behind the scenes.
We're not stupid.
We're not dumb. Well, I mean, actually, a lot of people are dumb.
Yeah.
But we know that it's going on. So instead of playing the stupid game, like, play the game we put you in Washington to play, which is take care of us.
Yeah. I mean,
represent
serve
well,
your people.
There's always bipartisan views of sending foreign aid to Ukraine, foreign aid to Israel, foreign aid to Saudi Arabia. All these countries.
They all sign off on it.
All
That's
bipartisan
the
every
worst
time.
Uh-huh.
Easy.
That's the worst part. So
They're like, this is needed, but you better not come to me talking about that water in Flint.
yeah, right. Let's not talk about all those issues.
That is a Democrat problem.
Yeah.
Or that is a Republican
Exactly,
problem.
and then they want to put each problem on each side and say it's their fault, their fault, their fault, their fault,
Well,
and they
this
just
was
go
a
back and forth.
Democrat-controlled city for how long? And
Yup.
they never addressed the infrastructure. And then they're
Exactly.
like,
It's political football.
yep, bingo.
So, last topic. Let's round up this one. We
I
all
thought
kind
that
of
was
came
our
to an
last topic.
agreement. Nah,
I'm
we
sorry,
got
I
one more.
went ham on that one.
No, you're fine because I like that one. But we're going to talk about one more, and it's going to be that Biden interviewed as part of the special counsel investigation into handling of classified documents. So, President Joe
He doesn't even
Biden.
remember what he did with this.
No, he remembered. He told us. It was next to my Corvette. It was next to my Corvette. In the garage. Locked away.
What are you laughing about, sir? I just shit myself. And then I fell up some stairs.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, man. I go hard on that guy.
Yeah.
Because he's like 95 years old and he shouldn't be the president.
I mean, we have a lot of people to blame for that, not just him. I don't even think he knows exactly. He's not mentally there, man. And I think that's kind of been established, and his family and his loved ones should feel ashamed.
I think Ryan's in love with him.
I think he is
I
too.
am. I'm so in love with him. If he was my grandfather, I'd pull the plug. No, I'm just I'm just kidding.
Oh my
that was terrible. I'm sorry.
Well, it's nice knowing all you guys.
We're canceled.
Cancel. I'm worried about the FBI showing up, bro.
Oh my gosh.
That was absolutely just a joke.
Try to recover.
I'm not even going to try to recover. I'm not a fan of that guy. Not because he's a Democrat, but mostly because he's been in politics for the last 40 years, and now he's at the top of the food chain. Can't even form a full sentence and is like making decisions for Americans every single day. So yes, I am frustrated. Sorry.
Oh,
I don't think I can look at him the same anymore.
Huh?
After you just saying that. That's what I'm going to think of now.
Well, I mean, he did fall off a bike.
Yeah, he did
And
fall off a bike.
upstairs.
He's fallen a lot.
Fell down.
All right, let's get through this. So President Joe Biden has
Putin would kick his butt.
Well, he was part of the KGB. I think he'd kick Donald Trump's ass too.
Oh, no, I'm not even
Yeah.
arguing that
I
point.
don't
I'm
think
saying
they're-
if you put him in the octagon, bro, we're screwed.
I don't know if we had a politician right now that could beat Putin one-on-one.
I'm sure we've got.
Well, Robert Kennedy Jr. actually, which by the way, if y'all didn't see, he's running as an independent
I did
officially.
see that.
Yes.
No, I'm talking about there's some ex-military in our Senate and House of Representatives.
I'd have to find them.
Like Byron Donaldson, I think, is ex-military.
All right.
Anyway,
Wrap
sorry.
her up. Let's go. President Joe Biden has been interviewed as part of an independent investigation into his handling of classified documents. The White House said late Monday it's a possible sign that the investigation is nearing its end. Special Counsel Robert Hur is examining the improper retention of classified documents by Biden from his time as a U.S. Senator and Vice President that were found in his Delaware home, as well as his private office he used after his service in the Obama administration. Biden has said he was unaware he had the documents and that there's no there. What?
There's no there.
I swear that's what it says.
There's no there.
Okay, interesting. Ian Sams,
English.
a spokesperson for
You
the
wonder
White
why
House.
it's so hard to learn.
Exactly. In the White House counsel's office said in a statement that the voluntary interview was conducted at the White House on Sunday and Monday as Biden and his national security team grappled with their response to surprise weekend attack on Israel by Hamas militants, as the president received some criticism for not being more visible during the crisis. It's not clear when Hur's team approached Biden's lawyers about an interview or how long they've been negotiating. Asked on August 25th that he planned to sit in on an interview with the special counsel, Biden replied there are no such requests or no interest. The interview could signal that the special counsel investigation is nearing its conclusion. 2016, FBI Director James Comey announced his recommendation against criminal charges from for former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, the Democratic presidential nominee, over her handling of classified information just 3 days after agents interviewed her at FBI headquarters. Investigators with her office have already cast a broad net in the Biden probe, interviewing a wide range of witnesses about their knowledge in the handling of classified documents. In his statement, Sams reiterated the Biden and White House were cooperating. He referred any questions to the Justice Department. As we have said from the beginning, the President and the White House are cooperating with the investigation. It has been appropriate. We have provided relevant updates publicly, being as transparent as we can, consistent in protecting and preserving the integrity of the investigation, Sam said. We would refer other questions to the Justice Department at this time. Attorney General Merrick Garland in January of 2023 named her, a former U.S. attorney from Maryland, to handle the politically sensitive Justice Department inquiry in an attempt to avoid conflicts of interest. It is one of 3 recent Justice Department investigations into the handling of classified documents by politically prominent figures. The investigation into Biden is separate from the special counsel Jack Smith's probe into the handling of classified documents by former President Donald Trump after he left the White House. Smith's team has charged Trump with illegally retaining top secret records at his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida and then obstructing government efforts to get them back. Trump said he did nothing wrong. No evidence has emerged to suggest that Biden engaged in comparable conduct or willfully held onto records when he wasn't supposed to have. Question in January about the discovery, Biden told reporters that the documents were immediately turned over to the National Archives and Justice Department. He said he was cooperating fully with the investigation and was looking forward to getting this resolved quickly. I think you're going to find that there's nothing there. There's no there, whatever that means. In June, the Justice Department informed...
How many times can you put there in a sentence?
I know, right?
There's no there.
In June, the Justice Department informed former Vice President Mike Pence's legal team that it would not pursue criminal charges against him related to the discovery of classified documents at his Indiana home. The news came as Pence finalized plans to launch his campaign for the 2024 presidential nomination. About a dozen documents with classified marking were discovered at Pence's home in January after he asked his lawyers to search his vice presidential belongings out of an abundance of caution. After the Biden discovery, the items had been inadvertently boxed and transported to Pence's home at the end of the last administration. Pence's lawyer, Greg Jacob, wrote in a letter to the National Archives. The FBI then discovered an additional document with classified markings at the Indiana home during its search of the following month. Pence reportedly said he was unaware of the document's existence, but the mistakes were made. It is hardly unprecedented for sitting presidents to be interviewed in criminal investigations. President George W. Bush sat for a 70-minute interview as part of the investigation into the leak of the identify of a CIA operative into the identity, I think is what they meant to put, of the CIA operative. President Bill Clinton in 1998 underwent more than 4 hours of questioning from independent counsel Kenneth Starr before a federal grand jury. Special counsel Robert Mueller's team negotiated with lawyers for then President Donald Trump for an interview, but Trump never sat for one. His lawyers insisted submitted answers to written questions. Instead, submitted written answers to written questions. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
Tomato.
Fair enough.
If one's doing it, the other's doing it. This guy didn't cooperate the way that we wanted him to, apparently, and this guy apparently did.
Cooperated, yeah.
What's real, what's not, and why do vice presidents have classified documents in their house?
Why does anybody have anybody have?
It makes sense for a president to have classified documents, especially if like they're going on vacation or something like that, and they need to have the briefings. That makes sense. But like vice presidents, isn't your job pretty much just to like head up Congress and chill?
Right.
The vice president. I don't know that there's much else for a vice president. Is there?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, the vice president's there, obviously a heartbeat away from being the president. But
what do you think, Stu?
Well, I think they can get.
Do they get a top secret clearance?
Well, they get like Kamala Harris. She's she's technically supposed to be in charge of the border. So from what I understand, I'm not an expert in this. So,
wait, so is it Kamala that's asking for the border wall to come back?
I don't know, but don't quote me. Vice presidents can get assigned to certain things.
So Love that face. So I guess my question comes out to this then. Would there be a better process? Maybe I don't think any of these individuals need to necessarily have, classified documents. I think they need to be locked and stored away. Now, if the president needs it in the matter of a whim of a minute, with the kind of technology we have,
Well,
it's not
also
that hard to get
too,
it to 'em.
what did those documents contain? What is the
Right.
content of those documents? Are they just, dumb, overclassified things, or is it
That's
actual,
possible.
very important intelligence?
Birds of a feather. I
They
agree with
flock
that.
together.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't know. I don't think any of them should be getting prosecuted over this. I think they all did wrong, and we can now set essentially a standard of saying, hey, classified documents were with people on the left, classified documents were with people on the right. Let's just go ahead and say no more
Let's get
classified
all the
documents in your
classified
possession.
documents back.
Yeah, and no more in your possession. Let's wipe slates clean. Let's move forward, because realistically, if you're prosecuting one, you need to prosecute them all. I don't care if one was more cooperative, one was less cooperative. You got them all back either way. And I mean, yes, I guess depending on the contents of those documents, it could be important. But at the same time, if they're classified, they're classified. They're all labeled under the same,
They're all top
importance.
secret.
Exactly. So at the same time, they all need to be
It's just it.
in trouble,
And
essentially.
yes, if you're going to prosecute one, you need to prosecute them all.
I agree with that. So prosecute one, prosecute them all.
Yep. All right. What do you think, Nafe?
Well,
What
we
do you
did an
think,
hour and
Stu?
a half, and
Three topics.
but
Hour and a half.
the Israel one was huge.
So
I knew that one was going to be big.
and we went in on the
Border
on the
wall,
border
too.
wall.
I
too.
liked it though,
That-
but we
that
had
was-
real discussion.
But I mean, I'm actually really intrigued now. Like, did Kamala Harris? Is she the one that's putting forth the order for the border wall?
I don't think so, because Biden was the one who basically came out and said.
But the vice president's the one that's in charge of the border.
So what that probably consists of is she would be in charge of. I would imagine.
I've been to the border. Remember that?
I've been to the. Oh my goodness, I've been to the border. She was so mad
Dude,
too
what
when these
about
reporters
when
were calling her out.
AOC posted for the fence
Oh,
that was
no.
like LaGuardia?
Yeah. It was. Yeah, you need to look this
Oh, no.
up.
Oh,
Kamala
no.
Harris,
Don't do
I've been
it.
to the
Don't do
border.
it.
Yes,
I've been to
please.
the border. It was cool. We had tea and crumpets. Is this bad? Is it like real bad?
Oh no, go ahead. I'm just
Oh.
waiting for you to pull it
Yeah,
up,
we're
baby.
waiting for you to
Yeah,
pull
this is
this
gonna be
up, girl.
great. Oh, okay, we'll get your thing
One-on-one
ready.
with
Well,
Vice
so I
President
have some
Harris.
people here on TikTok that are
Are they ranting and raving? Let's hear it.
they're just not big on the whole Trump holding on to the classified documents. Which, I mean, again, if you're not okay with him holding classified documents, you shouldn't be okay with the Biden documents, right? Gotta keep consistent in all your thoughts, right? So that's just my thought there.
What did they say? I want to hear.
What's a few top secret documents covering battle plans with Iran shared between guests, but we don't actually know what those documents consist of because that's way above our clearance. So you can't say you know what those are unless you have actually seen them yourself. So I will say that.
Well, the other thing is this. I kind of like what the highly educated source close to the material said.
What, right now?
Yeah, he said,
You don't think anybody should get prosecuted for breaking a law that would see a normal citizen lose their freedom indefinitely?
yeah, that.
Like that.
You don't. Well, you said not going to prosecute one.
Well, I'm just saying it
Normal
depends on.
citizens. Normal citizens go to jail.
It depends. I mean, if Trump gets prosecuted, which is completely fine, then
Biden should
all
also-
of them
because
need to get
here's the
prosecuted.
thing.
That's my point. Consistency.
Okay, so here's the thing. I get what that person's saying, like, oh, if he was sharing sharing secrets or whatnot, I get it. But Biden had those documents in his possession beside his Corvette for how many years?
Yeah, exactly.
How
How
many
many
years?
different people could he have
And
shared that
now
information with?
all the other like corruption and collusion that he is being tied to in Ukraine, you're gonna sit there and say, was that not done, or was that done, or what are we doing? What are we talking about here?
Yeah. That's
'Cause,
extremely
like,
interesting.
If he is actually being tied to all of this craziness that's going on in Ukraine, then you also have to look at it as in the sense of like, is he sharing, classified information with these people that are over there that he's quote unquote doing business with? Maybe that's something that could be looked into a little more, but who knows, man? Who knows? I will say that if you're going to prosecute one, you need to prosecute them all. They're all breaking the law. And when you break the law, Lady Justice should, drop her gavel.
I'm on board with that. So, yeah, like I said, if he's going to get prosecuted, prosecute them all. Let's wrap it up.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to our TED Talk on this beautiful Wednesday evening.
I have one more question, though, about the classified documents.
All right, make her quick.
They shouldn't be classified.
So let's use that person's argument. If Trump has these like real secret documents, and Biden's are just like something dumb, should Trump be prosecuted differently than Biden if the content's different?
No, because they're all held under that same top secret clearance. Regardless of whether one might be a little less severe than the other.
So a classified document is a classified document.
Classified document is a classified document. I don't care if what's classified is the cookies that the president ate that day.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of criteria that's making it top secret, which is big enough to say, nobody can see this.
Yeah, I think that's the difference in like the two sides, like the arguments. I think that's the difference there.
I get it, but there is a reason they were all declared top secret documents.
Yep.
There is some sort of subset. There is some sort of standard. There is something there that is allowing that. And then not only that, but I really like what Highly Educated Source is talking about with the document with Biden, who has a drug addict son, which we've talked about.
That is a
known criminal, has also been around those documents. So who's to say that those weren't Ukraine documents that they shared?
Got put on the board of an energy company in Ukraine.
Him and his son back in 2014 or whatever
I'm talking about
that
the
timeline
son.
was.
They just automatically just got put on the board of this big energy company
Which
in
we looked
Ukraine.
at that timeline like last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
last week. So
and had no energy experience or business experience in that realm, but he did have some access to those documents.
Yep. So interesting thoughts there.
And Big Daddy Biden was the one that had the prosecutor fired in Ukraine, withheld $1 billion.
Quid pro quo.
So there was there.
There was there. But you had to go looking for the there over there.
All right.
With
anything else? You good, Stu? You good, Ryan? Let's wrap her up. Beautiful.
Take us away.
Real quick, make sure you all like, follow, share, subscribe on all our social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, and Twitch.
The Royal Rumble.
For anybody who loved wrestling. So please make sure you all do that. Ultimately,
that's boxing.
No, it's not.
No,
the
it's
Royal
not.
Rumble is WWF.
Sorry, my bad.
Yo, the dude who likes wrestling doesn't even know about wrestling. Anyways,
well, you like wrestling?
Listen. Hold on. You mix it because the Royal Rumble is an event in
the Royal
WWE. Let me finish my thought. But you
it's
say
like 20 people are in the ring at the same time.
I know, but you say like it. The guy, let's get ready to rumble.
Okay,
in WWE,
they
they don't say that.
When have I said let's get ready to rumble?
You haven't.
I didn't think I had. I've always said the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
Stuart's proven wrong.
Never mind. Just go.
Got him.
He's searing over there.
He's heated.
The way you say it is like the guy that says it in boxing.
That I understand. Now I'm catching what you're throwing out there.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages.
And you've gotten to see Mr. Buffer.
I have, up close and personal.
Lucky.
But not Michael. I've only seen Bruce.
I mean,
you know that they're brothers that didn't know that they were brothers until they found, like, they were both announcers.
Wait,
and then they met and then found out they were brothers.
That I didn't know.
And they both had that beautiful, amazing voice and became announcers. Michael of boxing Bruce of MMA.
UFC, yeah. Wow, good for. Wow.
And then like never met each other, and then met each other, and then we're like, wait, why do you sound like? And he's like, oh,
have
why
an
do you
incredible voice.
Why do you sound like that? And then they.
I'm not gonna like, follow, share, and subscribe, y'all. Don't pay me for all that. Well, you know what? All you got to do is do it for free.
All right, well,
They're
do-
highly
pick one and
educated
do it.
source.
You don't have to do all of them.
Just do one of them.
pick one,
But
and then next week
Please.
pick another.
I like that.
And then the week
Please,
after pick a third.
make sure that you all share this, not only with the people you love, but also the people that you disagree with, because we here at the Fact Is podcast believe that we all have more in common than what we don't. So please make sure you all are sharing this with anyone and everyone. Also, want to thank a lot of different people, because you all are the reason we do this. Thank you to all military personnel, active duty and retired, law enforcement, fire and rescue, doctors, nurses, paramedics, hospital staff, farmers. Thank you for feeding America. Those in American manufacturing, thank you so much for working here in America. Those in social work, taking care of U.S. citizens, thank you all so much. And last but not least,
Nah, we should strike this one because I don't think they exist.
they gotta exist. Ethical congressional representatives, thank you for being emphasis on the ethical.
I don't know that those people exist.
Gentlemen, closing thoughts.
but go ahead, Stu.
Build bridges, don't burn them down. Hold your government accountable. Hold your local representatives and your local government accountable. Be nice to your neighbor. And try to see things from another person's perspective.
All right. If you want to complain about national politics, then get involved on your local level.
Oh, yes, buddy.
Because if you're not involved in your local politics and you're not involved in what's going on in your local community, then why do you feel it's necessary to, complain about what's going on in the larger scope of things?
Yep. Think
Because
about
if-
what's happening right
If
in
you
front of you.
can't change your immediate environment, then you're definitely not going to change the overall environment.
I love that take. So, with all that being said, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for a great episode tonight. And thank you all for coming to this episode's Fact Is podcast. This was the 141st episode of The Fact Is. We were your hosts, Nath Moses.
And I'm Ryan Mays.
And I'm Stu Mowbray.
And we will see you all next week. Might be a Tuesday episode. We will figure all that out. We will see you all next week for next week's episode. Thank you all so much.